So ultimately here we are referring to what we call in the United Kingdom, I'm not sure if you use this term in America, but we call it the nanny state, which is the government regarded as overprotective or as interfering unduly with personal choice. And that's the nanny state. So ultimately here we're dealing with two sides of the same coin, of a nanny state which is incredibly over-nurturing and smothering, and on the other side you've got the police state, which is harsher approach. And we seem to see both of these sides, the nanny state and the police state, emerging in our society more and more and growing. So as I said, on the one hand you've got the over-nurturing side, which includes things like the welfare state, which is actually, when it comes down to it, a form of dehumanisation and undermining individuality and just making people rely, like children, on the state. And on the other hand, you've got the state as the police state, which is incredibly intrusive on people's boundaries. Just like this picture here, you can see the aggression of it. And as these boundaries begin to be threatened, you see an uprising, a revolution beginning to stir. So this intrusion causes this rebellion. It's action-reaction. Their action causes the reaction of a revolution. Completely staged, by the way, because the social engineers, they would understand these principles, that if they do one thing, if they do this action of the police state, then it will cause a reaction, which is a organised, staged revolution. Because they're pushing it, on the other hand, with the controlled truth movement. So this action-reaction, according to Newton's third law, for every action force there is an equal in size and opposite in direction reaction force. Forces always come in pairs, known as action-reaction force pairs. So you see how this social engineering is ultimately working, a cause and effect. These are the very basic principles of engineering that they're following. And it is how this order out of chaos is being manufactured. And as I said, it's exactly the same to simplify it into just a personal relationship between a person of authority and child situation. Emotional abuse can be simplified onto a very personal and local level. And it's exactly the same traits that if this happens in a child's life, then the chances are, when they grow up, that child is going to defend those boundaries that were just trashed as they were dehumanized and threatened and intruded on when they were much younger. And it can come out in many ways. It can come out in physical and emotional violence, abuse to others, or it can even cause them to turn to escapism through drugs and drink, which you can see in society as the state, as the powers that be do this on the children growing up in this day and age, as the social engineers do this. You can see that that form of rebellion through escapism is becoming more popular. They provide the escapism. The people turn to drugs and rebel and feel like this is some kind of escape from the elite's agenda, when in actual fact they all have a hand in this anyway. It is Hegelian dialectic, the illusion of choice. So then another form of emotional abuse, again with this undermining and creating insecurity, depersonifying, dehumanizing. What is another way that this agenda is being pushed through this culture? It's a term called infantilization. Now, what is infantilization? To treat or condescend to as if still a young child. To reduce to an infantile state or condition, it creates a crisis that infantilizes them, causes grown men to squabble like kids about trivial things. Infantilization is a term referring to the treatment of one who is not a biological child as if though he or she is a child. Studies have shown that an individual, when infantilized, is overwhelmingly likely to feel disrespected. Such individuals may report a sense of transgression akin to dehumanization. And you can see here how it's talking about there's an overlap between the terms infantilization and patronization, being patronized. Infantilization may also refer to a process when a child is being treated in a manner appropriate only for younger children. Gradually, over time, turning grown adults into children as a form of undermining, dehumanization, depersonifying, in order to gain more control over their minds, to brainwash them as part of this society as a whole. I mean, do you notice in society people becoming more child-minded, more infantile, emotionally as well? You know, what people watch on television, what people enjoy, how you used to see adults and how they used to behave and act towards each other, and now people as a whole becoming more and more infantilized. Manning up, how the rise of women has turned men into boys. The rise of this feminine spirit in society. The nanny state. And how this infantilization is being pushed in the modern culture of Hollywood. Look, I mean, this is completely disrespectful to a mature adult. These pop stars pushing this childish behaviour. And this is the ultimate goal here. This is Mars. And you know, this represents the people of our society feeding off of the breast of this system. And this is the nanny state. You know, this is the ultimate goal. You know, we are adults. We are not feeding at the breast. And you know, if you think about this, is quite frankly ridiculous. Grown men striving and running after Pokemon. Go back 60, 70 years and see what becoming a man was actually about, and becoming a woman was actually about, and that process of real maturity and putting away childish things. And you just see, you know, this is not normal. Even when I was growing up, you know, this would be a picture of an 8-year-old. This is not normal behaviour. This is infantilization. This is a form of emotional manipulation and brainwashing. MK Ultra. Grown men running after virtual pocket monsters. Is this normal behaviour? Or is this a serious form of undermining and manipulation that these people are falling for? Mind control. Grown adults. I've seen a video of about 2,000 grown adults running through a city, screaming at the top of their lungs because they had 1 minute to catch a Pokemon. Dragon Z or something. I don't know what it was called. This is the infantilization of society, right before our eyes. Leading people, I mean, all of these raves as well, you know, you really think about these raves, this escapism from this oppressive regime. And at these places, you notice that a lot of them are all about fairy tales and stories, and like the sort of thing that you would read to a 4 or 5-year-old before they go to bed. That's what this is. But you notice that how they're all centered around fairy tales and mythical creatures and things that you would read to a young child. Spread your love to the world. Tomorrowland. This is the land of tomorrow. This is the land of make-believe, where this spirit of imaginative delusion is starting to take over as something that people are seriously considering. Grown adults chasing after this craziness, this delusion. So you notice today it's all about feelings. Don't say that to me. It doesn't make me feel good. I'm so offended if you say that to me. And how people are really easily emotionally triggered in this day. And it's this part of this false love, you know, and the rise of this feminine spirit, which is not about enduring sound doctrine, but about running away with your feelings into this false love. And so this is what it's ending up as. This is society right here, the people and the nanny state nurturing this baby, creating more and more of this reliance on this, just like going back to being a child, society as a whole. And then think about this for a second. What happens when you take this child away from its nanny? So, you know, if this is what's going to happen, and I'm not saying we can predict the future, but if they do, you know, bringing chaos in, what happens when this child is taken away from its nanny? It is going to scream. It is not going to be able to defend itself. It is not going to know what on earth to do, and ultimately it's going to be to the detriment of that child in one way or another. You can only imagine. So then put that in place of society, you know. Imagine what happens if this system does collapse, which is what many people in the truth movement are calling for. But that is the very agenda of the chaos. That is the very agenda to nurture people, make people completely emotionally unstable, make them unable to fend for themselves because of the increase in this overbearing, smothering nanny state. And then you take the nanny away. You see what's going to happen if that were the case. You know, revolution is their plan. That's what they want to spark. That is not the way forward. But we just hold fast to the truth. And whatever comes our way, if there is a backlash, then we have to stand firm.